That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The Knife, the directorial debut of Nnamdi Asomugha, which premiered at the 2024 Tribeca Film Festival, where it won the Best New Narrative Director and Best Cinematography awards. Relativity and Inaugural Entertainment are releasing it August 15th, 2025.
Directorial debut. What is The Knife about? After the mysterious appearance of a stranger in their home, a young black family must deal with the fallout of their choices, big and small, as a steadfast detective tries to crack the case over the course of one fateful night.
The first cut is the deepest.
What is your pull quote?
The situational wounds inflicted in The Knife are revealed to be disappointingly shallow in retrospect, but high tension and palpable anxiety propel an interesting conversation piece, further enhanced by a scene-stealing Melissa Leo.
Mine. The Knife cuts deep with a provocative premise that will get your blood boiling, though not always for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think it is an interesting conversation piece. It's a frustrating, sometimes uncomfortable film. And I love all of that. You're howling at the screen, but for such a brief, it's a short film.
The credits pop up at 74 minutes.
When you are left, and when you're allowed to let everything sink in about what happened, I think it's the screenplay deserved a few more revisions.
Yeah. The story is there's this young black family, mom, dad, and 3 kids, although one is like an infant. The other 2 appear to be maybe like 5 and 8.
Kendra and Riley, yes.
And one night, it's like the wee hours of the morning, like 1:30 in the morning, the dad, who's played by
Nnamdi Asomugha, who's married to Kerry Washington and an ex-football player, and we know him from Sylvie's Love, which we both quite liked, which is where he worked with his co-star Aja Naomi King playing his wife.
So he's awakened early in the morning, goes downstairs to check out the noise, and then there's this random, like, dusty white lady in the kitchen.
It appears the door was left unlocked.
And she seems catatonic. She's not responding to him, but she's also not sort of making violent gestures. And the next thing we know, she sort of turns towards him.
It's kind of almost like a Twin Peaks moment. What's that character named? Bob?
And then everything kind of blacks out, and then we see the family run downstairs, mom and the 2 kids who can walk. And everyone's kind of panicking. The dad gets on the phone to call the police. And then right as the police are about to show up, and this is all in the trailer, the mom grabs the knife that's on the ground, the husband's knife, and puts it in the mysterious woman's hand.
Her outstretched fingertips, yes.
So the first cop to walk in is this guy.
Played by Manny, Jacinto, Officer Padilla, who we know from 9 Perfect Strangers, by the way.
And immediately he's like, something's not right. Something's not right. And then everything just cascades because a detective played by Melissa Leo shows up.
Detective Carlsen.
Forensics shows up. I mean, you would have thought they found a mass grave at this house.
They rope this house off as a crime scene. It so quickly devolves.
It's just nonsensical to me that it escalates to this point immediately. And then the detective says, I need to know what happened tonight, so I'm going to separate the family. She first questions the mom, the wife, and she's being it's just comically suspicious.
Yes.
Then she moves on to the husband, who we understand maybe has some like mental health issues.
I assumed it was anxiety based on how he's acting, because he quickly tries to get some pills from an unmarked prescription bottle, and they fall into the sink, and he seems very distressed about that. Part of the film's situation is steeped in ambiguity because he cannot even tell his wife what actually transpired in the kitchen.
Oh, we need to get to that. But we also learn, before all of this happens, when he goes to tuck his daughters into bed, the one daughter says, you smell like beer. And then we learn that he's not supposed to be drinking, and then he's on these medications that would interact with the alcohol, which could make him maybe a little...
Because he works in construction, he has back pain.
But anyway, he's like literally unable to explain to Melissa Leo what happened. That's frustrating. Then she goes to one of the daughters, and the daughter basically sort of corroborates what she's already been told, except she adds a little bit about
Dad drinking.
And then they get to the younger daughter.
Kendra's the older one, I thought.
And the younger daughter is... Wait, you're saying that...
Riley's the first one they speak to, and that's who Melissa Leo tries to...
Is she the older one or the younger one?
I assume she was the younger one.
Oh.
Because the older one is all about telling the truth.
That's what I'm trying to get to. The second child Melissa Leo speaks to is the one who's all about telling the truth. And she looks scared. Mm-hmm. And that's when the mom jumps up screaming, like, don't talk to her, don't answer any questions.
And then the situation quickly escalates. Guns are drawn. Chris, that's Nnamdi, runs into the house. We learn that Kendra has asthma.
And then the detective says, okay, well, I think I have everything I need, so I'm just going to let y'all be, just so you know, the lady didn't die. Like, she's actually awake.
Mm-hmm. And we don't have her statement yet.
But we don't know what her statement is, so this all seems for naught. But right as Melissa Leo's about to leave, she gets a phone call. I don't know who it's from, but whomever's on the phone confirms that the knife that this woman was holding is actually the dad's knife.
The knife is coming from inside the house.
So then they arrest him.
And she's like, you tampered with a crime scene, that's a felony.
And then the final scene of the film is Chris in the back of the car, and we hear like communications from the police. And so basically, like, these charges get amped up because they're saying that he assaulted this woman, that maybe he's like selling drugs because he has these unmarked medication bottles.
Yes.
And maybe that woman was like a drug addict coming to buy drugs from him and they got into an altercation.
So no breaking and entering, et cetera, et cetera.
The end. Mm-hmm. Oh, I was so frustrated. I watch a lot of body cam videos and a lot of those like true crime, detective interrogation videos. And this just felt like whomever wrote it had like kind of an okay idea and they wrote the story in reverse.
Well, Nnamdi Asomugha wrote it alongside Mark Duplass, and I think it was financed through his production company. And it just seems out of touch enough to seem eventually like... I think it drains it of any potency.
Okay, let's talk about being out of touch, because at first you think, oh, it's going to lean on the racial angle because the wife immediately says, like, well, look at her and look at us, which I think is so crazy because this family looks like the perfect family.
They do.
They're like attractive people, beautiful kids. They're in their house. They're in their pajamas, asleep. And then there's this like bum on the ground and the wife is saying, well, look at her, look at us. And to me, it's the opposite. Like, yeah, look at her, look at us. We're not in trouble. You didn't do anything.
I think at one point in our history that would have automatically led to high anxiety and unease. But I think in 2024, when this was premiered, I think there has to be a few more twists of the turn to really get to how racism comes out. Because
a point is made twice that they live in like the hood. Mm-hmm. They even have like the sound editing. It's like we constantly hear like, even before the crime happens, we hear like helicopters and loud noise. So it's made to seem like they live in not a nice area. It's brought up twice. Mm-hmm. But then Melissa Leo tells the wife when she first starts talking to her, like, oh wow, I could have never afforded a house like this at your age. And then we see the neighbors and they look like it looks like a nice neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. And I took that comment from her to be was this film's form of a microaggression?
Maybe, but then I just don't understand, so then it made me think of a movie we reviewed a couple of years ago.
A Lot of Nothing, directed by Mo McRae, and I remember Cleopatra Coleman as the wife.
I don't fully recall what I thought of the movie, but I do recall that it's about a black couple in a very nice, like they're affluent, and their neighbor is a white cop.
Mm-hmm. And they end up... Circumstances lead to them holding him hostage.
But they left their home to go to his home. Mm-hmm. So it's like, I feel like this story needed to not take place in their home to take that angle, because the optics of it, from my perspective, is like, what's the problem here? Because you know what else it feels like? The new I Know What You Did Last Summer.
That's what I was just going to bring up, because whereas the children in that film do something that's like, but what you did wasn't a big deal to behave this way. Much like this film, like this person intruded into, they trespassed on your premises. And again, I think that's where the ambiguity seems hacky, because the husband, because he's been mixing medication and
alcohol.
Drinking. I mean, I've been on brown liquor and Xanax, and I mean, you're not supposed to do that, but I was fine. But he can't say anything, and that is where the suspense comes, because the wife believes that he may have stabbed this woman with the knife. That's why she or done something with the knife. But they could have spun this in so many ways that, of course, the knife's ours, but this woman saw it and grabbed it.
That's what I hate the most about the story is when I feel like it was trying to like guide us into thinking that maybe he does know this woman. Maybe there's something mysterious about what happened. But I mean, after finishing the film, she just seemed like a random lady who walked in who maybe is, you know, mentally ill. And then they got into an altercation. She fell, hit her head. Like, it just doesn't seem like it required the response that it got. The first cop who shows up, that actor, the way he was looking when he walks in, it was just like, what is the point of this?
Well, it's over the top. And also, Manny Jacinto is Canadian Filipino, which I think the casting is supposed to also be making a point, but I guess I just don't know what. And why is he so sus about this family?
Well, and then his character, who's so suspicious of the family, at a point, it then kind of flips the script.
For reasons that are unknown to us. And then Melissa Leo, who seems to, and I think she is the best part of this film. I think Nnamdi's performance is pretty good too. But she also starts to change how she's behaving with the family, and it's kind of unclear as to why.
I should have mentioned that the film opens, it's bookended with narration from Chris saying, you know, it was very Forrest Gump to me, like, Mama said life is like a box of chocolates. You know, he's basically saying, like, my grandma used to say that choices
have
and
consequences.
And so he kind of repeats that at the beginning and the end. And to me, it's like, well, yeah, your wife made the dumb decision to go throw this knife in this passed out person's hand when she didn't even know what happened.
What makes it kind of worse is how Aja Naomi King is scripted, who I still think was robbed of awards attention for playing Cherry in Birth of a Nation. But she's a school teacher, so she's
an intelligent woman.
Yes, and
I don't know what will possess her to do that when, from the audience's perspective, it appears that her husband was unable to tell her what happened. So she thought that, I'm assuming she thought, oh, if we put the knife in her hand, it will look like she was going to attack you.
Case closed.
Case closed.
But it's like, girl,
but
you know
that's your husband's knife. Like, what, did she wrestle it from you? Also, this man is a very, like, fit, big man, and this is an old lady. Like,
well, I think what's interesting about these scenarios is because it asks us to question how we would behave in those scenarios, and you really don't know until, you know, push comes to shove,
right,
how you might respond. But where I think a stronger script might have assisted in, we assume these things about this educated black woman, and we assume these things about her husband, but what if their behaviors don't correspond with what we think their values are, such as she's the one that says we should lie, he's the one that says we should tell the truth, because ultimately all they had to say was like, Chris is out of it. They don't know. He could have said he was mixing medications and liquor. He's in shock. He doesn't know what happened. And all you can do is tell the truth, which is what their daughter Kendra says that's what you should do. And they would have been fine.
You know what I would have done with this story? I think it should have opened with this mysterious person having been like knocked out in the kitchen floor and the husband's just standing there. And then we immediately cut to the detective questioning them. And then it becomes like Vantage Point where
Rashomon,
where each family member tells their side, and so the audience is getting different perspectives and we're trying to piece it together, and then in the end, you know, maybe a decision is made like we're going to arrest the husband, but then the final gag, since the film's so damn short, I think the final scene should have been that Melissa Leo's at the hospital with this lady, and then she clears it all up by saying, oh, I was confused, I walked into this house, saw that I was in the wrong house, got scared and fell. And then, I mean, so then it's like all this stress and strife and lies and drama was for no reason because the person didn't die and tells the truth that they fell. Mm-hmm. But because the husband was scared. I just don't think that this script did this kind of basic story justice.
Or I think it would have been more interesting if we realized the knife has been placed in this woman's hand, but we don't know which family member did it.
Or even that.
That would have been a better ambiguity. And so they're trying, so we know, the audience knows that somebody did something, but we don't know why or how.
The other thing is we know she's not dead because she's breathing before the police get there, like, because the wife goes to check. And then some law enforcement person, we hear them say like, oh, she has like her vitals are there, but they're faint. And then, of course, by the end, where it's confirmed, like, nope, she's awake, she's fine. I don't know why we didn't, for such a short film, why didn't we? It just feels like everything, it's too big.
Well, it's too big and it's too rushed.
It's too rushed.
Because they want that satisfying ending but it becomes nonsensical, really, that they would drag him away for a felony. And even with the evidence that we're presented with, and they say they did arrest him, if they got a lawyer, they would be able to work their way around all of that, because it's really circumstantial.
I don't know why they didn't tell this family, like, okay, we're going to wait for this woman to, be able to communicate to us what her side of the story. Y'all stay here. Don't leave the state. We'll be in contact. I just don't know why the response to it all was like the serial killer of the century was just caught.
Right, but I think at its most subversive, if you could grant it that, it's that this black family's acting guilty because they're black, and it's their own behavior and their own conditioning about how they assume this whole situation is going to go down that really gets them caught up.
But then I also think the story minimizes that very real scenario, because then you have the wife do something so damn stupid.
Right.
So then it's like, so then it kind of negates.
Well, then the irony that they're dragging her husband away, and she did this because, she says, you're a black man in America. I had to do something because you couldn't. And then you let his ass get dragged away.
But like, why didn't she say, why didn't she say something like, I did it?
Because, and then the way Melissa Leo's acting is that we will, you know what, you guys are going to have to come down to the station tomorrow.
Yeah.
Also,
it seems like Melissa Leo, the detective, at first is trying to guide them. Like, hey, if this was self-defense, like, maybe you should let me know. Like you are entitled to, this is your home, someone intruded. But the husband's not saying anything. He's the only person who knows what happened. And then the wife is just giving, like, the worst possible way she could have acted is how she's acting, which, like you said, we don't know how we'd act in a situation like that, but it just seems so crazy that she can't conjure up a better way to handle this.
I already know what I would have done when everybody woke up and found him, is like, get those kids in the bedroom, and mom and dad need to conspire alone to talk about.
Let me go through my few little notes. My first note is I was so frustrated that they didn't send those kids upstairs.
Yeah.
Those two girls are walking around. At one point, I think it's the younger daughter.
Well, one of them
gets on her phone and Googles like something about what is self-defense. Like, those parents needed to send those kids upstairs, tell them to lock themselves in their room while they come up with a plan. Because they also didn't secure the house.
Right.
Like, they don't know that maybe this lady's in there with someone else. But again, that's what makes the story fun, because I was screaming at the screen the entire time, but not always for the reasons that made it fun.
Well, and it's just, I feel like how empathetic Melissa Leo comes across, because when she tells the officer, Manny Jacinto, she's like, well, they're scared because they might have just killed somebody. She seems very reasonable. So I don't know why. And when she's, taking time to tell the young girls, like, this is why I have to question you separately, because you have to speak for yourself. And, as a white woman that seems so empathetic, I don't know why she couldn't go just one little extra step and be like, say something to comfort them beyond, like, does your family feel this way about the police?
She tells the family that in this neighborhood, so again, I guess technically like a third reference to like them not being in a nice neighborhood. She says in this neighborhood, break-ins only occur for two reasons. Either the person who broke in wants something like specific, or they know you. So like, and then that kind of gets left.
Well, because I think that's supposed to be our clue that this detective is making her own assumptions, pulling all these details in and painting a picture about what happened. And that will be the final say, because as he's being driven away in handcuffs, like that is the story that she's put together, really.
Also, Melissa Leo, at one point, no one's been Mirandized. No one is being told like this. At one point she does tell the mom, like, if you don't answer these questions that I'm asking you, this is going to get worse because I'm going to take you down to the police station. And then she goes to question the kids without, I think, explaining like you can be present. And then she goes to the first kid and gets on her recorder and she lies. Melissa Leo says, oh, interviewing juvenile, blah, blah, blah.
In presence of the mother.
In the presence of the mother, but that wasn't true. So then I feel like, I don't know what story this movie's trying to tell.
I don't know what her MO is exactly.
It's like everyone's all over the place.
But again, that just goes to show that if this family hired a lawyer, how this investigation was handled was sloppy. So this investigation would get torn to bits.
At one point, we hear Chris narrating. One time I asked my grandma, what happens when you make a mistake? And she said, pray to God, ask for forgiveness, and hope you don't leave the ones you love with the mess. Again, this really feels like the new I Know What You Did Last Summer. It's like the inciting incident does not seem that serious. You were in your own home. You were awakened by an intruder. You come downstairs. And then if you had to lay this lady out, it is what it is.
All of that needed to be the stakes needed to be higher.
Yeah,
I think ultimately is what it. You know what a better film is that is doing something similar is that film Emergency, where that drunk white girl gets those two young black men hemmed up with her antics.
That Sundance movie?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Like I think that, and it's kind of a black comedy, but I think that is so much more eloquent in doing a similar thing in the same vein.
Sorry to these people. I do think it's worth a watch, though, because you will be screaming at the screen.
Yes.
And that does have value.
I agree that it does. By the way, if you haven't seen Street Walking with Melissa Leo as a young woman, by the way, she gives it to you all the time because she was just...
We just watched her in that Kevin James movie.
Guns Up.
And I like that movie, too.
I like her in that. She's a bit too serious in that. She's an intense flavor, but I think she's the best part. I think Aja Naomi King does what she can with the role, but I think she comes... she's denied having a certain finesse that I think we really needed to see in that character as well.
I agree.
And by the way, the poster art reminds me of The Wasp, that recent Naomi Harris film.
What would you give The Knife?
I'm going to give it 2.5 because, again, I think it's a fun watch. I think it's a great conversation piece. Like we've already, even outside of this, we've talked about it a lot. But I would say, go back to A Lot of Nothing if you've never seen that film.
I don't think this film works, but I'm going to give it 2.5 out of 5.
And for a debut, it's pretty solid for a debut.
Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.